Well, we're not at MAR or the Michigan Association of Realtor event, but as you know, we're not, well, I shouldn't say we. I'm not social. I those things are like taking a pin and poking in my eye. So Kathy's is much more of an extrovert. She enjoys that stuff. So
I'm just so excited to be on here with all you guys. This is awesome. I love this.
well, we'll be here every Wednesday, so you guys got to give us the topic for next week. And I was thinking about if someone wanted to start a team or something like that, what are the parameters and the numbers you want to look at when to think about should I do a team, and then also talk about the first talk about that because we'll get wrong is the higher part, but
they want to hire somebody like themselves.
yeah, exactly. They do. Yep. And you do exactly that.
Metro Detroit, where are you located, Cheryl?
I'm Kalamazoo area.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Other side.
Yeah. I've never been to Kalamazoo, but I have been all along like the west, like been to Pawcatuck and
in Ann Arbor.
I've never been to literally Kalamazoo, but I feel like I've been all around there. Yeah, and I graduated from Michigan, and I lived in the apartments right by where Dave and Kathy's office is in Ann Arbor. So
That's a drive you go into to get to our office.
Yep.
No, we actually we basically had our office ourselves out in Dexter, and then they brick and mortar, and they just couldn't justify the cost anymore because it was just us out there.
It was us in this giant office.
Yeah, so they closed it down, and then we were supposed to assimilate back into their office in Ann Arbor, and there wasn't enough room. Plus, it was just annoying as heck because we spent all of our time people coming up and asking us questions and things like that. We couldn't get things done. So
the Keller Williams office is a half a mile up the road.
Yeah, it's close by. And then we found this space, and then our title company went next door too, so it worked out well. But
Yeah.
Today we're gonna again. Have you guys had problems getting offers accepted at all? Or are you seeing that? We're still up here in Ann Arbor. We're still in multiple offer situation. It is changing a bit though. It's the houses that are in moving condition, perfect condition, that are getting multiple offers. And our buyers agents are getting beat out. But there's some key things that you can do to prepare your offer to get it accepted. And so what you guys know, so Kathy's role for DMA is contracts. And so a lot of her time is spent with the buyer's agents, reviewing contracts, making sure the proper language is in there for the contracts, and trying to get those accepted. And as you know, from my standpoint, I'm primarily a listing agent. So I receive those contracts from buyer's agents, and we'll kind of go over some of the things that I look for that will push one contract over another one that may give you some help down the road. But we're gonna let Kathy kind of run over what she looks for with the buyer's agents.
He's gonna let me talk.
And then I'm going to chime in as she's talking about it. I'm going to say this is from a listing agent standpoint, how it works in the eyes of a listing agent. So I'm going to let Kathy kind of start with.
So yeah, what I work with all of our buyers agents from step one. Did you get your contract approved by Carrie yesterday?
Yes.
Even Dave has to get his buy-side contracts approved. And it's not really just the contract that we talk about. But we have an agent out here that I kind of use as my rump. If you can get it accepted by Martin, you've done a really good job. And so I look at him and have you done it? Is Martin going to look at this, or is it going to the bottom of the pile, right? So first and foremost, any agent comes to me and says, can you approve this offer? My question, very first question is, have you spoken to the listing agent? That's all there is to it. They need to know who you are. And I learned something in a really good Zillow thing that I was in a couple weeks ago, that there's a Anthony Dijon. I don't know, you guys don't know him, but big flex agent down here.
Maria probably knows him because Dijon's up in her neck of the woods.
Oh, that's true.
I see his signs out and about.
Yeah.
here and
So
there.
he's an interesting character. I'll leave it at that. But he pointed out something, and it's something that we do, Dave does, is immediately after accepting, he's going to Google somebody. I Google people constantly that show up. You go to Zillow, you Google them, you find out who they are.
If we don't know who they are, obviously
Right.
you're going to do a majority of your deals with people that you know.
But more and more, we're doing them with, well, one, we're doing them with flex agents, and I get to train those agents on the other side. But more and more, we're doing people out of the area. We got one from, the other side of Detroit. We get them from Grand Rapids. We just did one in Jackson. The girl was from South Haven, and it was the most frustrating deal we've done in a very long time. They even do things a lot different in Jackson, and I'm just learning those people. So yeah, I mean, they're weird in Jackson. Wait till you go to Lansing. But people are coming from, I just sold a condo in Lansing, and thank God this guy knew my nieces and nephews, or I probably wouldn't have gotten the deal done. He didn't know me, and their first question is, put it on a Lansing contract. I'm like, fat chance. I don't think so. So anyway, they used to do that. So Anthony Dijon said the thing that he does, if nobody's reached out to him, if you're writing an offer and you're just sending it in blind, it's going to the bottom of the pile, right? It's going to the bottom of the pile. But he also takes a look at your social media presence. He's Googling you, right? What are you doing on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you are? What's your website look like? Do you look like a professional? So again, it's back to that same thing as, how are you presenting yourself to the world?
So with communication, so first thing is that, and Maria knows, just because, she'll try to contact me quite a few times, and she knows that I'm a real stickler about, I'll always communicate back very quickly. And to me, how you communicate with someone is going to tell the listing agent how you're going to act in the transaction. And it's kind of like dating. When you first date, everyone's going to be perfect on the first couple of dates when they're wanting to put their best foot forward and things like that. If you're not going to put your best foot forward when you're first starting a transaction and communicate and say, first of all, call the listing agent and say, hey, my name's Maria. I'm with Real. Just want to let you know that I think I'm going to be writing an offer for you. Can you tell me what the ideal closing and possession time would be for your client? And what types of things is your seller looking for? And what that tells me is a bunch of different things. It tells me, first of all, you're going to communicate with me. You're working for your client and you're asking all the right questions. That means that you're not a dumb shit in one of the 90%. And the other part of it is that you're trying to get information. And so that tells me the chances of me having to do both sides of this transaction, that's the royal week or royal me, having to do both sides of the transaction is slim. Whereas if I get a contract, and it happens all the time, because the other part too is how many times if you send an email, it might go to spam or something like that. Now I check my spam just like I check my regular email. So I check my regular email, I check my spam, and then I check, what could go somewhere else. But I check that as a regular thing, 30 times a day. But even if it's just, hey, Anthony, I just want to let you know I emailed an offer to you. Can you just let me know that you received it? Okay. So communication in any relationship is huge. In real estate, it's especially huge, because the other part too is that gives you that first opportunity to maybe even feel out the realtor, about what's going on in the situation. You might be able to get information about motivation. They just had a deal fall through. Their people moved to Florida. You'd be surprised what agents will tell me. I just wrote an offer on a $1 million house, and some of the information I got from just asking a couple little questions to get a feel for, what the seller was thinking, it gave me some good strategic points that I was able to convey back to my client. But
And you are gonna, I mean, you're gonna ask the question, do you have any offers? Obviously. What's, how are you talking to people? People call me constantly. Do you have any offers? Do you have any offers? Let us know. Let us know. Or that's all they put in feedback. It's like, so when we do, I just say, here's your notice. We got it. It's everybody, nobody wants to be first, which is another point of getting your offer. Why not?
well, that's the other question to ask is, do you have any other offers in hand?
Yeah.
And
gonna
and when
ask.
they say, well, no, but I've heard, this person, this person, that's fine. But I mean, that's going to give you good information so you can help strategize how to write the offer. We're going to talk about escalation clauses and appraisal gap in this, Zoom. But you want to find out, does your client need to go over a list price? Do they need to think about appraisal gap language, and escalation clauses, potentially waiving inspections, et cetera, which I would never recommend. But those are things you need to know prior to writing the contract, so that you can help your client put
Yeah.
their best foot forward and put them in a position to get their offer accepted.
You're collecting as much information as you possibly can. I mean, I honestly ask, can you tell me what, if they have another offer? You feel like telling me what it is? What do I need to be? Somebody's going to tell you. I've had people tell me, we had a buyer's agent on our team that adamantly believed it was in the seller's best interest to tell him, yeah, well, you got to go over 280. Okay. Is that in their seller's best interest? Probably. Do we do it on a regular basis? No, we don't blurt that out if we don't have to. It's not really the business, but you're trying to collect as much information as you can. And then you go back to your buyer. This is the conversation I had with the listing agent. And I tend to, depending on how well I know somebody, I said, I will tell you, they don't always tell the truth. They may be just full of it. But and then you've got all that information and you sound, you're, I don't even want to say you sound smart. You are smart and you're treating your customer, your client, with the best information they have to make a decision. And that is your whole job, giving them all the information they can to make a good decision. And sometimes they just say, I can't deal with this. This is way out of my ability to cope with. And others are like, all in, let's go. Let's go 20 over. I don't even care if it's over yet. Let's just go. I want it. I'm done.
Whereas the other people, I don't want to get in a competitive situation,
There's a
period.
lot of people that don't.
And that's also why when I give feedback or people ask me about offers in hand, I'm very careful about how I structure that conversation, because I also don't want to discourage someone from showing it, especially if I don't have really good offers. If I've got something 30,000 over list price, then I probably will just say it up front. But I'm gonna, it's just like
Get
with our
people in the
clients.
house.
I want to take in all information so I can help my client make the best decision, but we also want to give our clients all that information so they can make an intelligent decision, because it's not our job to tell somebody what to do. It's to provide them with all the information so they can make an informed decision. That's really our job as a real estate professional. So as you can tell, we think communication is huge.
It's the most important part of the whole thing.
100%. And you will get, and the other part too is you'll ingratiate yourself. And I know you've done this, Maria, because you've talked to me about offers you've been writing and stuff like that. And you try to come off as not being smooth. and just being very direct and everything, you're smooth. And you knew exactly how to ingratiate yourself to the other realtor, which put you and your client in a better position, 100%, because of your
That's
communication
all my
style.
years with the restaurant
Yep.
business, just having to, you know,
I'm not real keen on the word ingratiate because it has a negative connotation, in which I'm not sure really that's what it means at any negative. But all you're doing is most importantly, being yourself, being genuine, because we all can figure that out really fast.
my
And
issue isn't, well, you guys know it isn't the actual talking with people. Once I get going, then I'm like more comfortable. Mine is being comfortable to like talk, like to initiate the conversation. But once I get on it, then I'm okay.
for you, and as I recollect, is you like to have all your ducks in a row before you talk. And
Yes.
that's not what you're doing. You're
Well,
asking this point, and you're collecting information, and you're not giving. So that's where I would flip that a little bit for you. You like to have all this stuff figured out before you can do anything.
she likes
It's
control, just call it what it is. She
well,
likes
Mhm.
control.
but it's not even control. It's not just control. You can't put that detail orientation and the logic that I work with, you work. I like to have as much information, and not just because I want control, and not just because I don't want to appear stupid. Um, I want information, and I want to be prepared when I go to talk to somebody. I'm not calling Martin Bama, Elizabeth. Well, I call Elizabeth some of these big agents in Ann Arbor without having my shit together. That's all there is to it. I'm gonna have, and I'm gonna have my shit together. That's all there is. So that's important. They know me. I know them, and that's honestly, it's funny because I didn't go to a lot of like MAR events or anything. I did a lot more when we were brokers, but I did a lot. I did so much of the work on listings as we were growing in this that I talked to these agents way more than Dave. And it's the most, and but I wasn't the, pound your fist negotiator in that boat. But
No, but
you know them. This is why I like to go to these things now, because when people know what Dave and I were doing real, that's one piece, but it's so much easier to have deals and things when you're talking to people you have other connections with.
Yep.
So,
and the other part about our communication too is that we played good cop, bad cop.
I'm the bad cop.
And so that's not the case, but that's okay.
The worst
Um,
ways ever. I'm
but-
so mad at
But
it.
so when we need we need sweet and honey and stuff like that, Kathy's going to make the phone call. Whereas if we need kind of very direct, very almost to the point of being abrasive sometimes, that will be myself. Just and it's something where it's a real bad situation and I've got to try to turn the tides in our favor. But that's another part of the communication aspect of it also. Just like there'll be some times when somebody calls team and they'll ask for Kathy and not for me, because they think they're going to be able to get farther with Kathy than talking to me. So, but
It's sort of like mom and dad.
Yeah.
Go ask your father, fat chance. But I mean, even that even happens in our own team. So, it definitely happened when we were brokers. And I don't like Dave's answer. Go ask Kathy. But they also could always reach me faster too. And I have my people, and you have your people. And that's just who we communicate better with. So I think we've beaten communication
Yeah, I
to
think so.
death. Do it, be honest. Most importantly, I mean, bad cop,
empower your
good
client,
cop.
empower your client with all the information.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
that's your job.
Be just who you are. Don't try to be slick or anything. Just be yourself. Because I can't be Dave. So
I was
All
gonna
right.
toss in what helped me with that. Sometimes, like if you have to call, yes, it is good to call to get the information. But sometimes now I learn from you guys, like, and you, I know Kathy, you had kind of just said, just send a text. Like, sometimes that helps me to get the ball rolling, and I'll just use the word just thinking about this. Did this happen? Or just wondering, did you da 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 da? Or just this, and that helps me loosen up and kind of make, I think, more conversational to get the information I need and then ease into a phone call or ease into whatever it is I need to do.
Yeah, you don't want to do shoot bullet questions at them. Just, hey, I was thinking about this.
Exactly.
But that's how I talk all the time. So that's important. And for me to continue, if I jumped in and said, what's the listing price? What's this? They'd like, you sick? You know, something's wrong with me. So anyway, yeah, we could talk about this for hours.
Because it is the most important
Most important
part.
thing.
The second one's pretty important though, too.
Yeah,
So
it's funny because I'm having a little issue with my lender on a deal right now. And he is local, but we are, and I know things have changed a little bit. Local lenders. Use a local lender that your listing agent is gonna know. There's a lot of lenders out there, but and we've run into some good ones. I ran into a Veterans United who people hate. That was mind-boggling. And if any vet calls me, I'll call her. She closed a VA deal in 18 days. So that was impressive, and it's not nice. But she's also a local Veterans United person. A lot of times you get in these situations. Rocket now does have local people, but if Dave gets an offer from somebody and it's like Mark, who we use, or Betsy, or people we know, that's back up top of the pile.
these are things that will, I mean, as we talk about communication, with the other agents, stuff like that, this is part of the communication process that I have with my client, my listing client, that, hey, this is the experience that I've had with this particular lender. They're very good. They do what they say. There's some lenders that way overpromise and underdeliver almost more than the opposite. And I know them in a multiple offer situation, that's going to hurt that buyer agent's client, because I will make judgments based on that. And I can when I've got 6 offers on the table. But sometimes other things can overcome it, but not a whole lot. And the other big thing about the other thing about local lender is, what do they normally use? Local appraisers. And that's one of the things that we're starting to run into more and more are appraisal issues. And, I just had one where guy came in 25,000 under list price or sales price. And we've got comps and everything, but this person was using stuff. Our house is in Ipsy Township. He was using comps in Ipsy City, which they're not that far away, but it's a huge difference between the city and the township. And this appraiser did not know that. Now, I didn't have multiple offers in this situation, and it's a United Wholesale Mortgage lender type of thing. So I've never really had it where they're a direct lender or United Wholesale. The company is called Go Rascal, but I didn't have a bunch of offers where we got to be very picky. But if I see local lender and I see Rocket Mortgage, or I see a lender that I don't know
Online,
or sometimes
or Bank of America,
or USAA, which is a big veteran one. They're usually really good. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up the phone and call the lender, and I'm going to ask them again. I've got a pre-approval letter, a pre-qualification letter, whatever they're calling it that day. And have you verified such and such and such and such and such and such? So that is gonna be a key thing in getting your offer accepted.
The other thing to know, as you hit on, is they are not doing, I mean, unless they're doing a true like underwriting pull, you're gonna see pre-qualification letters again. And it's gonna be your job when you get that letter to reach out to the lender and say, I need to know what you did, because I guarantee the listing agent's gonna ask you, how did you get this person to this price? Did you pull credit? Did you do a soft pull? The Mark who we work with, his are true pre-approvals. And he'll call you if it's not. He'll call and say, I don't know what to do. Do you want me to write a pre-qual? And we'll deal with that at that point, and I'll talk to the buyers, but their pre-qualification letters are coming back, not pre-approvals. But we also pick up the phone on 85% of them anyways, unless it's somebody we know well.
No, we're picking up the phone every time. If we don't know them, we're picking up the phone every time, whether it's myself calling or Kathy calling, because in a lot of times it'll work in their favor as well. Someone I don't know. We just did a deal with someone, I can't remember the deal on it, but I'd never heard of this lender before. And he was texting me saying, hey, I just want to introduce myself, things like that. I picked up the phone and called him, one of the smartest SOBs I've ever talked to in the mortgage business. Impressed the heck out of me. Had all the stuff. Hey, Dave, I got all my underwriting in-house. I personally have gone through all these different things. These people are golden. This is a slam dunk. I've done 3 deals with the parents, and this guy's just as, yeah. So
You do it.
So
The same thing with you being that good. He's going to be that good, and a lot of local lenders have, and sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. A lot of our lenders are communicating all of the information with like if I've got a buyer with the listing agent. Sometimes I don't like that.
I don't like that.
And so I have to remind Mark on occasion, don't do that, because it's not in his scope to make those conversations. He can say, yay, we're all approved. That's great. I'm fine with that, but nothing else. So it's really important to do that. There was a whole different point I was going to make about that, but
I think we hit the key points on the lender part.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you're comfortable with the lender. And if your clients are using someone you do not know, please pick up the phone and call them and talk to them and feel just as comfortable, because guess what? The listing agent's going to call them too. And if that lender does not give a good impression to the listing agent and there's multiple offers, that could be the difference between getting your client's offer accepted or not. And it shouldn't make a huge difference. It does 100%, because the two kiss of death in this business in the market right now is one, overpricing a listing, and the second one is having a deal fall through and then having to reignite that momentum again. And so that's why I am very fastidious about making sure the lender piece of it, they're falling through on contractors' inspections. You can't really do a whole lot about that. You can about the lender. So I think
we just did a deal. I didn't do the deal. I've been showing a house over and over trying to get a buyer. She really should just stop and buy it. Came back on the market, and I said to Lynn Wade, and she said, yeah, basically the buyers just straight up lied to their loan officer. Like, oh my God. That makes you wonder what kind of loan officer. Granted, it's really hard to call somebody out on a lie, but it's huge.
we hit that on Packard.
Oh yeah, well, that was just crazy people.
Number 3, we're gonna have Kathy talk, because that's her big thing. Is
well, I've probably never gone through a contract with Cheryl, but I've gone through contracts with everybody in the state. I've gone through contracts with Maria, believe me.
Actually, let me say it and I'll have you talk about it. Let me say it and you talk about it. Know your contracts inside and out. And if you've ever heard me speak, these are the tools of your trade. Know your agency disclosures. Know your exclusive buyer agency contracts. know how to be able to discuss those with your clients, but fill out the contract. They're filling the blanks. And you want to know how many contracts we get where there's 6 or 7 places where there needs to be something in there and there's nothing in there? Now think about it from a listing agent standpoint. When I get one of those offers, you can communicate to me until the cows come home. But if you don't know how to write a frickin' contract and know what needs to go in there, guess what the probability of success is going to be? And guess what the probability of us having to do both sides of the transaction, because we're already starting day one saying, did you mean to fill this in? Did you mean to fill that out? Did you mean to fill this in? No, I mean, and you're probably laughing. What the hell's this guy talking about? 1 out of every 2 are not filled out correctly or totally. And just by doing that, I mean, that almost gets you to the 10%, just being able to know how to do your contract without the communication or anything like that. So I had to do that first part because I get frustrated as hell. And I just wrote a contract. I had Kathy, well, she was busy. I had Carrie look at it. And I usually have 2 sets of eyes goes on mine, and I missed something. I didn't have the without staring exceptions. But
Just the easiest thing to miss.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just, it seems silly sometimes to put so much into it. But the first time you have, shouldn't say this, an engineer or I have a grad student that read she's getting her doctorate in economics. She read every clause of our sales contract. Have you read every clause of your sales contract and know how to explain what's happening with special assessments? What happens with occupancy holdover? What happened? I mean, there's so many weird things that we don't even deal with. Why is everybody putting, I want all the splits for a piece of land? That's not legal. It makes no sense. But somewhere down the line, we went back and said, I want all the splits. Well, it doesn't make sense. So if you don't know it and you can't honestly explain what every paragraph in there means, how many people add all this crap in inclusions that's right up above the section that says garage door opener, the window treatments, the garbage disposal, it's built in, it stays. But it gets added and added. So it's just kind of, or when was the last time your seller took all the window treatments and all that stuff too? Same thing on the other side. But so one, you just have to know it. Read it. If you don't get it, you can call us. We know all your contracts pretty much now. Angela should know. Your people on your board should know. Your team leaders should know what goes in there. Now, the other side of the coin on this is you are not an attorney, right? Your job is to fill in blanks, not to write long and legalese-ish clauses.
especially in addendums.
Right? So yeah, I mean, a lot of them, we used to just have addendums that we checked a box. This is an extension of this. People love to make wherefore and thereafter and blah, blah, blah. And it's ridiculous because then it's left open to interpretation. You want it to be super clean. It might take more than 1 sentence to get your point across. I just went back and forth with Cindy, our buyer's agent. She wanted to make this, she loves to write the therefores and stuff, cracks me up. But you're not an attorney. She just needed to say, this will not stay. If this happens, this is what happens. 2 sentences, very simple, clear, cut. But in general, you are there to fill in blanks. You can cross stuff out if it doesn't make sense. 99% of what you should be doing is filling in the blanks. And I mean all the blanks.
So the offer I just wrote, my two sellers, both attorneys. Both attorneys. So I got an email last night with about 11 points that she wanted to verify in the contract. So I went through and because I am, why did I write it in the way they are? And the first question was, I'm assuming that these are all standard contracts and we cannot change the verbiage within it. Answer number one, correct. But then she had, it was also, why did you put this in this way? Can we change this language, things like that? And because I'm aware of the contracts and what they mean and the intention behind it, I would say, here's the legal aspect of it from as I see it. I'm not an attorney, but this is why it's there. This is the intent from a real estate standpoint.
So I have one besides the land splits pet peeve. If you're signing a contract and it's multiple offers and you haven't taken 2 minutes to actually find out who the seller is and where they live, that's going not even to the bottom of the pile. That might just be going right over my shoulder into the trash. You're trying to make the best impression possible for your buyer. And you hold so much of that in your hands because they're not talking to each other. And they've got to take what you've given to that other agent and make the best impression possible. And especially if you've not written or dealt with this agent before, granted, you might have communicated, you hit it off great, whatever. But he doesn't know how you work. So you're proving yourself from the very beginning. So in that contract, I mean, this is more important than, yes, we're going to communicate. This is more important than calling him and asking him, dumbass questions. I mean, granted, you're going to find out what makes the buyer happy. What's the most important thing to the seller? And they're 99% of the time going to say, I need occupancy and I need a lot of money. But
putting the seller's name, it shows your professionalism. And to me, it also shows competence.
Yeah.
The fact that you took the time to go to BS&A and spent that 30 seconds pulling up on BS&A and that you don't have to pay for that record. Now it's $650 to pull BSA records, but the name's right there when you pull it up. So I teach our buyer's agents, make sure you've got this house open in the MLS before you start writing. Our MLS, all you do is click on Real List. It's essentially the same thing as BS&A. You're going to find out a lot of information. Like, oh my gosh, they bought this for, it's listed at $280. They bought it for $100,000 6 months ago. That's a flip, right? That kind of information. Get into Real List, take a look at all that. Get all your information. Don't assume that the legal tax ID or legal description's correct in the MLS. Most of them are now because everything pulls from some IDX. Our dot loop is not pulling as well as it used to because we've so many different boards and crap, but it doesn't all pull the same. So if I'm writing on a house in Jackson, the Jackson board doesn't necessarily mesh with our board and hence dot loop. That stuff's just not there. So you might have to go hunting. Sometimes I get that open. You can now you can copy and paste a lot of stuff, right? You can copy and paste your inclusions. You can double check on your tax IDs. Don't assume. We just had an agent that we both really, really liked that had so many mistakes in it. And I sent it back to her. I said, first and foremost, can you redo this? There's a lot of mistakes in it. And one was the address. Like, what are you doing, crazy person? And we got that solved, but
So do it correctly, do it. And I have no problems. You know, if you got something you don't think you know what you want to do, call. We're probably, well, I keep doing that and when we're in broker land, and it was easier, but, talk to somebody else, even if it's just the person sitting next to you, even if it's, I mean, Maria can even be your husband and it's gonna look and go, you missed 6 blanks here. What's up with this? You know?
Or shoot it by someone you know, and just another realtor, or just
Yeah.
send an email to us and just say, hey, would you mind just taking a quick look and just make sure it looks all right? And then Cheryl, you've got a group of people you work with, just have your team leader or someone else that's a friend of yours. Hey, would you mind, hey, reciprocity. Hey, would you mind just going through my contract? I just want to make sure that everything looks copacetic. I always like to get a second set of eyes. Yeah, and like I said, I've negotiated in 5,500 contracts. I have every one of my contracts that I personally write, looked at, and also receive. So any offers that I get, I have at least 2 other sets of eyes looking at that as well. And I just find ego goes out the door when it comes to contracts. Because having 2 sets of eyes or 3 sets of eyes, you catch a lot of things and it's just going to give you an advantage.
The hardest thing is when you're up against a deadline, right? It is so easy, one, to go fast and to skip that step. And that's when you're gonna make a mistake because you're going 100 miles an hour. So it's probably more important at that time to take a deep breath and go, okay, just here, can you just look at this for 2 minutes? It doesn't take that long, but the other thing I want to make that's really important to me, and in this day of DocuSign, dot loop and stuff, you've uploaded a seller's disclosure. Maybe you've given it to your buyer already. Maybe you've given them the lead-based paint. So another one of my pet peeves is the lead-based paint never gets filled out right. Take 2 minutes and, make sure your people have initialed where they need to, you've initialed. But your seller's disclosure, they're going to sign and they're going to say, I read this. And they're going to have to live with the fact that it says right in there, the dishwasher doesn't work. But they didn't read it because all they did was click, click, done. Make a point to tell your people to read that, review it so that they're not going, I didn't see that. I mean, sometimes they're not easy to read, especially if you're on your phone, but they should have it before. I mean, if you're showing them a house, hand it to them right then. Not everybody wants to carry a piece of paper around, but they need to understand this becomes a part of the contract. So it's a big deal. So that's my last pet peeve on contracts, outside of a million other things.
So the next 2 that we're going to talk about are some things that you might put into a contract. Have either of you done escalation clauses in any contracts? Have you ever had pushback from any listing agents regarding escalation clauses? Have you ever had someone say, I don't like escalation clauses. We won't look at escalation clauses?
Yeah, they don't like them over here.
It's,
Too much.
I see, yeah, I've gotten the question. The reason I ask is I've gotten the question, Dave, will you consider an escalation clause? And so I was like,
Does it give my seller more
oh,
money?
yeah. Is it my client's best interest? By all means. But so just real quickly with escalation clauses is the first one is going to be is that I've had escalation clauses where we'll beat your other best offer by $1 up to a max of such and such. Don't do that. That's I mean, even $100, I would probably do something minimum. I will beat your best offer by $1,000 up to a maximum of $385 or something like that. And the other part about escalation clauses though is So one of the reasons why when I price a house, and I'm just gonna give you one of my little secrets, it's not really a secret, but so when I price, so let's say I've got a listing that the range is 369.8 to 389.8, right? Where I like to normally go is the lower part of that price point. And let me tell you why from an escalation clause standpoint. I don't know if you ever thought about this. Is first of all, I prefer to get multiple offers and negotiate up from list price. I want to get as many people through there as possible. And if you price it at the bottom end of a price point, you're going to get more activity. The other part comes into the escalation clause and appraisal gap language is if I'm listing this for 369.8 and your client wants to write for 390, guess what I'm going to expect as a listing agent?
Appraisal gap.
Correct. For the amount between what I've listed it at and the price that you want to go at. And if there's no appraisal gap language, I'm looking at that as an offer of 369. I don't even consider it. I mean, you can escalate to whatever amount you want and everything like that. If there's no appraisal gap language, it's a $370,000 offer. Because one of the things that I, as a listing agent, am very, that's why I price it at 370. All I'm really guaranteeing it, and I'm not guaranteeing, but I'm going to get that thing to appraise for 370. Okay. Now, if you want to go above that amount and you guys all want to, bid against each other and bid it up to 385, you better have appraisal gap language and not for 5,000 or 10,000. It better be for the full appraisal between list price and that price. So that is one of the things that I expect. And so that's also one of the reasons why my strategy is to price it lower part. Because if let's say we even went 379.8, now, I mean, it's only a $10,000 appraisal gap. So that's just one of the things that I look at when I'm pricing. But I'll get them all the time when there's no appraisal gap link. And how I, as a listing agent, will review that, it's a full price offer.
It's just somebody trying to nail the house down and they're gonna figure out, where it really is. It's just such a waste of time because that's what all they're doing. I'm gonna go back again on this, on clauses and hugely important that it is simple language. An escalation clause, buyer will pay $10,000 over next highest verifiable offer up to a sales price of whatever. It's simple. They will pay this much. I want it verified. You don't have to make them hard.
And then there's another part of that though as well is you don't want to have the appraisal gap language within the sales contract. You want to have it on a separate addendum.
Yeah, that was escalation. Put your escalation clause in your contract. Appraisal gap is literally, wait, I did.
No, it's appraisal gap. Yeah, appraisal gap on the
I'll
addendum.
pay $20,000 over this appraised value. It's not, again, simple language, but that goes on an addendum, so it's not going to the lender. There are agents you're going to have to explain that to, or, you're the buyer's agent. Make sure that your buyer, when they go to send their contract, which is why we do it for them, we send the contract to the lender for them. We send it at a bunch of places, right? We send it to them with everything they've signed. We send it to the title company. The title company and the lender, I have taken to doing it at the same time. Now, the title company has the lender's contact information. They have the pre-approval anyways, but I get to see what goes to the lender. The title company doesn't need the appraisal gap language. Not important to them at all. They're going to get the sales price, whether or not they're not involved in the appraisal at all, title company. So they don't need that. And you get those. So again, Dave will say, I have high control ladies. Hell yes, I do on this. I'm trying to get my buyer the best thing. And if I've written in there, I don't think it's going to appraise, so I'm going to have to bring 20,000, that's essentially what you're saying. It might not appraise. Does that put that into the appraiser's head that, geez, why did all these people write appraisal gaps in there? Why is there this? Do they not think it's going to appraise? So
You want the appraiser wanting to hit that
Yeah.
top number, that number that the escalations to and everything like that. And you don't want them knowing there's appraisal gap language that if they appraise that for 10,000 under the sales price, that because the appraisal gap language, the seller is fine, but that's 10,000 more that the buyer has to come to the table with. The other part of it too is psychologically, just think about if you're a buyer and it appraises for $10,000 less than what you're paying for it, then you're thinking, well, did I just screw up that the appraised for 10,000 less than I'm paying for it? I'm negative equity other than my down payment on this house. And that could potentially be an issue. I've seen psychological things happen to a buyer who says, well, screw that. I mean, the house appraised for 370, I'm paying 395. No, I'm not doing that. Hey, here's my earnest money deposit. Take it. I don't care. I don't want that negative equity to begin with. So,
and people,
yep, Maria.
Who do you all give the appraisal gap language to? Do you give it, you said not the title company, do you give it to the lender?
no,
No,
positively not.
absolutely not.
Okay.
the lender.
Positively not. No.
Nope.
And then you won't give it to the appraiser either then?
Oh, hell
When-
no.
If they,
The lender gets, the appraiser gets their information from the lender,
okay,
not you.
We kind of hold on to that addendum. I mean, it can go to the title, and sometimes it even doesn't need to go to the title company right away.
I don't send it, there doesn't need to go to the title company at all.
Yeah, unless there is appraisal, so they can appraisal issue that they can see that, there's that gap language. But
No, we've done an addendum to change the sales price. It's already there. The sales price is there. They got to bring this much money. This is all there is to it. You are going to ask, I mean, the lenders aren't stupid, right? They know that when you do a credit, you're probably doing it for an inspection. You're not sending, I'm going to have this all done. These are all the things this credit's covering, because then they have to be done before closing, right? But lenders aren't, most of them, just like realtors, most of them aren't dumb. They know why you're writing a credit. You're writing an appraisal gap. They have to know, and you have to have that conversation. At least the buyer does, and be clear, they have that money. That's
100%.
it's a part of their pre-qual, pre-approval, whatever, because they're gonna, don't know how much everybody knows about lending, but they've got to have reserves. They've obviously got to have income, blah, 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 their down payment. But if they're putting a $20,000 appraisal cap, they better have that money. So it's not like the lender doesn't know about it and that they're not smart about it. You just don't want it to go to underwriting.
And they don't want to see it.
No, they don't want to see it.
They want the deal to go through too. And
Yep.
so they don't, everyone's working toward the same common goal. So, and if you ever have problems with that type of language too, just call us. Because we're coming up on the last thing I want to talk about are inspections. And so we talked about what are the two things that will kill a deal. Most of the time will be either the inspection or it will be financing. Okay, and it's many more times it's going to be the inspection. So a couple little tips on the inspection part of it is the first one that, again, let me kind of do the first part, is do not, so let's say you did escalation clause, you got in a primary position, and then you tell your buyer, let's just get in primary position, then we're going to go and renegotiate after the contractor's inspection. Don't ever tell your client that. If your client comes to you and says, hey, this is what we want to do and things like that, counsel them on how that goes. And first thing is that any type of negotiation on a contractors constitutes a counteroffer, period. And so if there's other offers and things like that, you just triggered a counteroffer. And just so you know, I know the agents that will do that, and they have a history of doing it. And do I tell my sellers? 100%. I won't, I mean, I won't dog them out. I'll just say, I have had a history of this particular realtor getting in primary position and trying to renegotiate almost every single time on a deal. I'm just giving you that information. It may be the best offer, and that's what they decide to do. I'm just telling them up front because it's also going to cover my butt when they come back and do it. Okay. The other thing that
certain properties are less susceptible to that kind of stuff. I mean, you've got a few years old, or everything's just been redone. It's less of an issue, but
you'll even have clients though that it needs GFCIs, and I want $10,000 credit. And
electrical issues.
But the two other points I want to make about the inspection, and I'll let Kathy kind of is, I would never do a pass-fail inspection. Okay, so I just got one on one of my properties. It was a pass-fail inspection, and if it if it was just small stuff, it was pass-fail. They either did it or they did not. And so some mold came up in the attic, and so the agent calls me and goes, man, Dave, they really like this property and everything like that. There's some stuff that came up. We can't really ask for it because pass fail. So I think my clients are going to walk away. And I'm like, well, why would you first set it up as a pass fail to begin with? I mean, if you're going to go do the inspection, something comes up. I mean, my sellers are reasonable people. They'll take care of something. Oh, we can do that. I said, just what were the issues? And if your clients, if your clients feel comfortable, if that's taken care of, just write it up. But she put her clients in a position where they had to say yes or no. And I think that's very hard to put, especially first-time home buyers. They don't know the difference on that. The other part would just be, I highly advise against waiving inspections. I, as a listing agent, don't like it when buyers waive inspections. I'd rather have somebody go through the house, a third party. But the other part of that particular comment is, if your client does not want to do an inspection, I would write an addendum, or even an email that says, hey, I just want to confirm that you do not want to do an inspection against my advice. Is that correct? They respond, yes. Okay. That to me takes care of anything that would come up in court. Even better, an addendum against their buyer's agent's advice. Buyer has decided to waive their inspection, or buyer has decided to waive their inspection against the advice of their buyer's agent. And I would sign it, and I would have my client sign it. We're in a very litigious society if you didn't figure this out. And people will lie. My agent told me not to do the inspection. I wanted to do one. Please cover your butt. And it's not just covering your butt, it's covering Angela's butt as well. So that's my thing on inspections. But Kathy, what do you have to add to
that? I think the most important thing is, if you do these types of pass fail, or we will not do anything under $5,000, something like that, make sure you're still making it contingent. It's still contingent. So if you've got a checkbox that says we're doing an inspection, like our contract, you've got a spot, most do, contingent on private inspection with an assuming, make sure it's contingent, because it still is. If you just say it's not, and you don't make it contingent, you've got nothing. It still has to be you filling in a box that says it is contingent upon that.
And that's a key point, is that the box right by the number 13 or 17 or whatever it is.
It's not our contract.
If that, but if that box is not checked, that is not a contingency. Even if all the rest of the stuff is in there, it's not a contingency.
If you've got 7 days and this and this and this, No,
And that
make
goes
sure
back
it
to that-
says it is.
And that goes back to that number 3 about filling out your contracts correctly. And I've seen it. I've seen it as a broker. I saw it.
A lot. We're
It
doing
actually was in
yeah.
our favor where the other people did not check that box,
Yeah.
the other company. And so I had all the leverage at that point. So I could be Dickhead Dave at that point because I had everything was in our corner because they did not check the proper box. So
One of our buyer's agents, actually way smarter than all of us, missed a box on the transfer fees and cost him $600 on a condo. Buyer wasn't paying it. So he did.
Sometimes it's hard when you're on the listing side and you get all these different contracts. Oh man, my hardest was that one from up north, that contract. I think you remember, Dave, I was going through the verbiage. I'm like, some of it just did not make sense no matter how much of a fine-tooth comb I tried to like figure it out. And I'm just, yeah, that for me, that's hard on the listing side
Very
when you
hard.
get, some of
Back
these
to-
really different.
It's 2 sets of
well,
eyes.
yeah, and those will so yeah. So I mean, I've been in the business for a long time. I've negotiated a lot of contracts. I get these contracts where I've never seen them before. I'm like back in kindergarten. I put the glasses on and I'm reading every word because she knows my biggest fear is ever ever appearing ignorant and not knowing all that stuff where I can talk about and stuff. But I'm back in school because I'm going to learn that contract and I'm going to be able to explain to my client. But the 100% it's tough because we just get our standard contracts. It's like speed reading. I go right to the parts that I need to look for. And then on the ones that I'm not familiar with, as a broker, I was seeing so many
We
contracts.
learned a lot doing that. I mean, but back when Dave and I started, we didn't even have paper. We wrote it on rocks, but it's terrible. But we had people didn't cross lines, right? People didn't come from the Detroit area. An agent didn't come here. We knew our contracts. And then slowly but surely, even before we were brokers, we had to start dealing with, well, like I said, Lansing.
When Al Gore created the internet, and people could get information outside the local areas, that's when it started happening.
How far is it for me to, I don't live here and I'm going to Jackson. They have whole different board and they're all nuts, but they are all nuts, I swear to God.
We love Jackson though.
We love it.
Jackson's paying our bills. So.
And I have no problems with it, but they're the most expensive board in the state.
Well, is it true in Texas? Don't they use just standardized contracts for the whole state?
A lot of
they're like
states
35
do.
pages long
A
though.
lot of states.
Oh, okay.
It's
So it's like I get in conversations, we'll say that, arguments with Angela about the West Side's contract is the only contract that anybody should ever have. And of course, Kalamazoo thinks their contract is the only. Oh my God, it's terrible. It took me, but I can read like Matt Miller's now.
Battle Creek.
Yeah, it's that I got that down pat, but we didn't have to deal with it. We just didn't have to. And now we do. And like GMAR and Real Comp, we're all starting to get closer to a single understanding of it. Processes, Dave has a belief that there will be only one soon. I would love that. I have no problems with it. But we do have differing needs in different areas. So, people on the lakefront have different things they need to deal with. People with well and septic, we have different things. And do you want to would it be nice just to have one contract and you have an addendum for this side of that? Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool. But we have it for condos, we have it for vacant land, that kind of thing. We have occupancy agreements. Don't make my contract 35 pages. Give me a nice 5 to 6 page and say these are your addendums that you need to do. But that's my soapbox on that. But
My prediction is that there'll be consolidation going on the next 2 years where boards will consolidate, MLSs will consolidate, real estate companies are going to consolidate. So what you're seeing with Compass and Anywhere, you know, I mean, is it unheard of to think that EXP and Real could merge or something like that? It's
Then we'll
you know,
have an
you hope it
AT&T
that never happens, but or maybe it'd be a good thing. I don't know, but I think that there's going to be more change in the next 2 years than we've had in my 32 years in the business in the next 2 years.
except for the internet.
Are you guys, when you run your searches, are you using Flex now or are you still looking at Real Comp? Or are you doing more Flex?
I'm mainly using Flex, but we have both. We do have, we've kept our subscription for Real Comp. So we have Real Comp and Flex. Yeah.
Yeah, I just use
We
the
use
Flex.
Real Comp when we can't get disclosures for something in general, or we just can't find something. But
Yeah.
sometimes disclosures don't come over, but even that's getting so much better. It is,
Sometimes I'll have a wonky search or something.
Yeah.
I'm not getting stuff and I'll just,
Double
hey,
check it.
play devil's advocate and go through Real Comp and do a search. And it's well worth it. And I'm trying to think if we have anybody that's still with Real Comp.
we in our team.
No, that's right, because we're in LGMAR now. But I mean, to me, that's the tools of my trade. That's why I want both MLSs too. And it may be I only need it once or twice a month or something like that, but I want it. I want that information. So
A lot of the people over here are just stuck with Real Comp. So I was shocked. I was actually surprised. I thought more, I mean, when they made the switch, I thought, that if they were with GMAR, they would have just kind of rolled over. But I'm sure you notice when you look at Flex, it'll tell you if it's a Real Comp listing or a My
Yep.
Real Source. And so, I mean, they're still mostly Real Comp on the ones over on this side.
And
We
we've
had,
always been able to do that by number, you know.
we had a bunch of our real agents that when the shift happened, they went from GMAR to Knockbor to keep
Yes.
Real Comp.
I
So-
wondered that. Yeah, I was with Knockbar originally, and then when I came to Real, I switched to GMAR because remember Nick, I think that's all he wanted to do. He didn't want all those like different, and plus they were probably just starting, and then
It was before all the Ann Arbors, all the switching
yeah,
that happened.
yep, exactly.
So I mean, the one thing you're gonna find about realtors and real estate is realtors do not like change. And that's really what it comes down to. And even if it could potentially be better for them, I'm seeing it just in the attraction to Real Broker, where I see these people that are on 50-50 splits and 60-40 splits. And I mean, these are producers too, and they do not want to change. They do not want to change, and they're leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on but I'm going to lose all this business and everything like that. And it's like, well, not if you've done it correctly. I mean, people do business with us because of DMA, not our affiliate brokerage. And if you brand it correctly, it shouldn't make any difference. But realtors do not like change.
Well, they could take that money if they're concerned about I don't know, the physical location. I mean, they could get an office space for cheaper probably than all the commissions that they're losing out with percentage wise.
They can come crash here. I mean, we tell them that, but that's the whole thing is they just, you know what?
Well, other brokerages, I mean, even like, KW has always been, it's the agent. KW doesn't need to be a big deal. Most of the other ones will teach just the opposite. Oh my God, if you don't have Reinhardt behind your name, you're worthless. If you don't have Howard Hanna on your sign, no one's going to know who you are. Well, then you've screwed up if no one knows who you are.
This
Mhm.
this listing I went and showed, this one on this $1.1 million listing. I'm driving up and it's a Howard Hanna sign, and the agent's not advertised on the sign at all. Doesn't even have a rider below or above and things like that. So when that $1.1 million listing sells, all they know is Howard Hanna sold it. And Howard Hanna used to be
Howard Hanna.
Edwards Sorvell Realtors, which is who we were with. Well, we were with first. And the main reason why I left is because people weren't doing business with me because of my company. It was me, and I had 70 listings when I left Surivel, and every single one of them came with me to Keller Williams without me twisting their arms. I just said, "Hey, this," and I do it all in 24 hours because they got wind of it that I was leaving, and they basically said, "Get the hell out now." And so I made 70 phone calls, and every single one of them said, "Who's the Surivel?" We don't know. We don't know.
Crusty old fart.
We
That's who
we
he is.
we listed with you, David Mueller, and at that time I think I was David Mueller Associates or whatever it was. Yeah, so every single one of them came over. So I found out about brand real quickly, but that's what they have to do. And the other part that they keep their agents with is through their reload program, where they charge 42% referral fees to the agent on top of their split. So they're working for 30 cents on the dollar.
It's crazy when you start deducting, you don't even realize that in the beginning, and then you're like, wait a minute, where is all the money
I'm
going?
doing to the company and to the company, the company, and the company.
Yes,
Yes.
100%.
Whereas real, and it's 100% for the agent. 100%.
I gotta go.
All
It's
right.
done, yakking. We
We are.
good? It's good to see you.
Kathy, once we start yakking, you know how that goes.
Yeah, I do, but I got too much
You
going
got two
on.
Italians and a German in here.
Well,
I'm so glad I could.
we won't go hungry, that's for sure. Two
True
Italian
story.
moms, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad I got to hop on here with you guys. I always love, well, talking to you and listening in and all that good stuff. So, yeah, let me know if you're this potential buyer that you have.
Yeah.
I'll let him know.
Yeah, well,
I'll let Becky and I'll let Lou know.
yeah, we'll definitely let Lou know. Okay.
And you know how on my side, well, on your side, I know your contract is going to be good, and you know that I'm going to be checking it good because I learned from the best. So,
There you go.
all right,
Perfect.
thanks, guys.
Have a
Much
great day.
appreciated. See you
All right.
later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You're still not getting that email.
No, but that's okay.